So at the start of HSBC Ceylon Literary and Arts Festival, I'm with Helen Macdonald, the author of H is for Hawk. So Helen, you've just landed in Sri Lanka yesterday. What are your first impressions?
It's the second time I've been to Sri Lanka. Instantly, I just don't want to go home now. I love it here, and I have made great friends here last year, and it feels like coming home. So I am really pleased to be here for this festival.
So when I was doing my research a couple of days ago, you came across to me as the bird lady. How did this whole fascination with birds come about?
I don't know. I was so small. So, I remember going to sleep when I was maybe, before I could even walk, I was dreaming of birds. It's always been part of who I am. I don't really know why. Part of me thinks maybe, I had a twin brother who died just after I was born. It was a great family tragedy. And I think maybe this notion of trying to sort of find birds, they fly, they kind of have this sort of transcendent aspect, maybe related to that somehow, something to do with flight and loss. So I love birds. They're just the greatest things the world's ever made.
So my next question, you've written so powerfully about the natural world as something both beautiful and brutal. In an age where we're all concerned about climate change and the environmental crisis, what role do you think nature writing plays today?
It's a very good question. So there are different kinds of nature writing. So there's kind of nature writing which is there to energize people and to make them go and protest and cause change. I'm not very good at that kind of writing. It's just not a skill that I have. But what I try and do is to point out to readers some of the most extraordinary, beautiful, strange things that are out there, that are all around us, in order to just create wonder in people. And I think wonder is a driver of love, and love is a driver of protection. So that's my job, I think.
Yeah. So much of H is for Hawk explores the tension between wildness and control, both in training a hawk and trying to manage grief. Do you think we misunderstand wildness in ourselves as much as animals?
That's wow, what a phenomenal question. This is so early in the morning for me.
Sorry, I'm sorry.
No, it's great. I think we do, and I think the idea of this notion of wildness generally is something that we're not very good at. I think, we always see wildness as something out there. We see, to find wildness, we have to go to mountains and forests. What I did with the hawk was to bring wildness inside my home, which was kind of in many ways much more dangerous, and it was very off balancing. But I think, yes, there are wildnesses in us that we never look at, or we try not to look at. There are the big emotions, the dark emotions. A thing like a flu or a virus is a kind of wildness that we have to struggle with all the time. And I think by delimiting and widening this notion of what wildness is, I think, and looking at dead in the eye, we would do much better for ourselves and for the societies we're in.
Right, thank you. And you've said that the year with Mabel changed you. It made you more open and more loving.
Yeah.
When you look back now, what do you think the hawk gave you that nothing else could have?
Mabel gave me a chance to fall off the world, to go to the underworld and become, in many ways, quite crazy before I came back to this world again. But she also gave me this education in life and death, because I kept a hawk that hunted. That's what they do. And I watched her catch animals. It was all very grim in many ways. But it made me realize how precious and how fragile life is. And I think that was the main lesson, that none of us are here very long. And we have to really treasure every moment that we have on this planet.
Right. I want to talk to you a bit about your father, who I think was very influenced your life heavily. He was a photojournalist, someone who captured fleeting historic moments like the famous royal kiss, which I will ask you later on. Do you feel that writing H is for Hawk was in some way your own act of preservation, a way of holding on?
In many ways, it was a way of letting go. So I decided not to write a lot about my father in there. It's not a biography of him. He's in there through my love for him. But I feel that when you write a story, you're always surrounded by the ashes of all the other ways you could have told the story. And once I had told that story in that book, that was it. I told the story and it was done. So it was more like I had made a pot on a wheel and I'd put the pot down afterwards. It was a saying goodbye to a time rather than a continuation of it.
Okay. So getting back to your father,
yes,
I read that he took one of the world's famous photographs of two members of the royal family. Would you like to tell our viewers about it?
Yeah, it was Charles and Diana kissing on the balcony at their wedding. It's a very famous photo, and to get that photo, he went up there very early and stood in the same place, I think, for 16 hours to get the right to be in the right place. He didn't eat or drink or go to the loo. And when he got back home, he was so unwell. My mother was furious with him. He was like dehydrated and kind of. And she said, what were you thinking? And he just kept saying, I got the picture. I got the picture. And then they published it with the wrong byline, so he was furious.
Oh, so what media outlet was he working with?
That was for the Daily Mirror.
Daily Mirror.
Yeah,
okay.
yeah, in England. But they, I think there was just a mistake, and I think it went out with the wrong. It was all fixed afterwards, but it was very, very funny, and he was fine. But it was just, it was a classic example of how far my father would go to get the perfect photograph.
Persistent.
Absolutely.
Okay, so right. My next question. You're obviously here in Sri Lanka for the literary festival. Now, our world is increasingly shaped by screens and algorithms. Why do you think gatherings like these literary festivals are so important to preserve the written word and encourage people to read more?
I don't despair of reading, so I realize a lot of people I know that are always on their phones are actually reading books on their phones now. So I'm not worried about that, but I do feel that there is something about a festival like this that is beyond special, because you bring people together. You cross the boundaries between writers and readers, and the kinds of conversations that happen in these kind of environments are not like any other kind of conversation.
Right.
They are always energizing and thrilling and inspiring for everyone, not only the writers but also people who want to write. I've met many people who've come to festivals wanting to write and have talked to writers and have gone away and started writing. So yeah, no, they're really special.
And looking back now, what do you think made publishers respond so strongly to H's for Hawk? What do you think was in there for them to say, right, we're going to go ahead with this?
I think they thought it was a very odd story, but a story that touched at a really deep part of human existence, which is not just grief, but love. It's a book about love, centrally. And I think the book is really about for anyone who's lost a loved one, which is all of us eventually.
Of course.
But also anyone that's been through a very dark time and feels lost and alone. We don't really, I think all of us find it very hard to talk about those times, and a book can do some of that talking for you. So it's a book that makes many people feel less alone, and I'm very pleased it does that.
Right. What tips would you have for our own Sri Lankan aspiring writers?
Oh, just keep writing. It's a very boring tip, but it's very easy to get discouraged. I've suffered from that many times. The more you write and the more you read, so read everything. Don't just, read literary books, read everything. Read comics, read the backs of cereal packets. Just keep reading. And then find your people. There's always readers out there. And I think the internet allows that to happen in a way that was never before possible. So.
And what are you working on now, or what projects are in the pipeline?
Oh, I have a very late book. I'm constantly waking up in the middle of the night, sweating and panicking about it. It's about Midway Atoll in the Pacific Ocean. Okay. It's a tiny island covered in nesting albatrosses, which are a really symbolic species, yeah. But also it's amidst the ruins of an American naval base. So it's about the end of the world. It's about love. It's about nurture and about albatrosses.
Well, you told me you're going to extend your stay in Sri Lanka. Our national bird is the jungle fowl, and I hope it gives you inspiration to write a book perhaps on Sri Lanka in the future.
I would love that, and I love jungle fowl. I have my parrot friend back home, Barrett, who bred my parrots, said to me, when you go to Sri Lanka, go and look at some jungle fowl for me. So they are beloved all over the world, those jungle fowl.
This is like an ornithologist's paradise.
It is. I'm going to be doing so much bird watching here. I'm going to become a complete geek.
Anyway, thank you very much, Helen, for your time with us.
It's a great pleasure.
And I hope you have a superb festival.
Thank you so much.